cybersecurity expert Charles Tendell.
Systemic failures that brought their whole systems down.
Charles Tendell, he's a certified ethical hacker.
Your emails, it turns out, are not nearly as private as you think.
Show really how vulnerable we are.
Charles Tendell, who deals with hackers all the time, says,
if you have to ask yourself, is this right? It probably isn't.
Welcome.
Good morning, guys. Welcome here into the Charles Tendell Show. If you're new here and you don't know where you are, you don't know who I am or what am I about, you know where you're going. Oh, wait, let me fix this. Hold on. Oh, so much better. You know where you're going, over to the CharlesTendellShow.com, and while you're there, do the thing. Like, subscribe, share, and do all that other fantastic stuff that you do online over at the CharlesTendellShow.com. And remember, while you're there, if you click that Get the Latest button, or you click that Subscribe, or any other buttons that are out there, this show will show up on your favorite device, no matter where you are in the world, and you can always hear the latest and greatest of the Charles Tendell Show. But you got to be subscribed to do it. So good morning to you guys here. It's 8:01. It is 1 minute after the hour. And if you were on the East Coast, and you're in our tiny little city of Bears, it is currently 73 degrees, and welcome into the Charles Tendell Show out there. If you're listening on 103.9 FM, thank you. I love having you guys in my ear, love having you out there so we can continue this conversation all day, every day, about all the things that are happening out there in New Bern. If you missed yesterday's show, definitely head over to New Bern Live Facebook group and check out Asked and Answered with Chris Orman. Yesterday he talked to Chip Hughes. It was a good conversation. It was decent. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was a lot of good information from a man who wants to be the sheriff of Craven County. And there's a lot of stuff that we had to talk about, especially in the wake of the recent shooting in Texas, which I'm not going to get too much on, because today is actually a tech show. It is one that I actually get to engage with my tech audience, and I get to bring up things that matter to me, that I enjoy, that I like looking at, which is all of the things technology. And if you're new to the Charles Tendell Show, it is a hacker's perspective on the technology, current events, and news. It's all of that with a bit of a pulse, because I get to have a good time doing whatever I feel like doing on this particular instance. So if you missed it and you want to finish up with the house cleaning stuff, if you missed it yesterday, definitely head over to the Facebook group for New Bern Live and check out Asked and Answered with Chris Orman from yesterday. Keep your dial locked in on 103.9 FM, because you're going to hear all sorts of fantastic stuff coming out from New Bern Live at your 8 a.m. hour and your 5 o'clock hour, because the way that it works is Monday mornings is Asked and Answered with Chris Orman, and whoever he decides he wants to have a challenging or interesting conversation with online. Imagine that very active Facebook page or Facebook comment that you want to see the comments evolve into what it would be in real life, right? Imagine if you could take Facebook comments and make it real life. That is what you get with Asked and Answered. So if you got questions, definitely get them answered and ask them over on Asked and Answered. So that's Monday mornings at 8 a.m. with Chris Orman. You can find that over on the New Bern Live page, or morning on your radio dial at 103.9 FM. And then on Tuesdays, because it is Tuesday morning, you get Tendell Tuesday with me and the Charles Tendell Show here, bringing you all the things about tech, hacking, all of the stuff, all the questions you've got to ask about your technology, about your life in general. If you want to hack anything, right? If you want to hack anything, do give me a call, 844-9-HACKER. I'll get you in and involved in this conversation if you're around the world and want to do it. I don't know if I'm going to open the lines this morning, because we've been having some weird, I guess you could say, tech issues that we've been having here lately. Yesterday the board just acted stupid, so as you can see, Big Red is back. But or you can't see. That's right. If you're listening to this only and you can't see it, you need to be over on Facebook to watch the live stream, or you need to be following on the CharlesTendellShow.com, or you need to be a member of New Bern Live, and you can see a lot of these interactions, because there is indeed a video component out there. So you can't see Big Red, but know that it's there. It loves you, and it's there, and it's how my voice is being carried to you now. So Wednesdays is all about New Bern and beyond. You're going to travel out to the Crystal Coast and enjoy the new things that are happening out there with Wendy Card of the New Bern Now podcast and the New Bern Pod Squad. Fantastic stuff. If you want to get more about that, again, you got to be on the New Bern Now. You got to be part of New Bern Live, or you got to be liking the page or in the group. One of the two. The group is where it's created. The page is where it's presented. Is how it all works. And then Thursday, if you want nothing to clog up, or you want to get all the clogged up stuff out of the stuff that you had to think about over the course of the week, right, all the way up to Thursday, because it's almost Friday and you want a little something to get you over to Friday, become a mofo and check out Men on Radio, offering nonsensical solutions, Thursday mornings at 8, rebroadcast in the afternoon for you guys if you want to do it. All of this on 103.9 FM, New Bern Live time. If you want to get more of it, you know where you got to go, to the New Bern Live group. group or the Facebook page and get involved. But for each individual show, find their show and see the stuff that those creators are actually all doing, because it's all fantastic stuff. So if you want to chill your brain, you want to be a mofo, check out Morons on Thursday morning. You can find them on the New Bern Live group. And then lastly, on Friday, if you want to know all the things that are happening in and around City Hall for downtown New Bern, city politics, all those fantastic things, tune in Friday mornings for City Talk with Sabrina Bengal and Lee Bettis. That's where you'll get all of the stuff happening down in and around City Hall out there. Speaking of City Hall, tonight is indeed the Alderman meeting, right? It is the city government meeting. And tonight, I think they're finally making votes on how they want to spend your money. I think that's what's happening tonight. There's been a lot of discussion about where funds are coming from. We just came out of budget season. Shouts out to J.R. Sabatelli, who has been dealing like a mad magician with all of this. If you want to know what finance time looks like in a city, always talk to the city accountant. Always go there, engage with those people, and just buy them a cup of coffee, because those are the people that have to make the numbers work. And there's one of them in every level of government. There's somebody there that they don't get all the credit, they don't get all the information. They sit back quietly and they do some amazing things with spreadsheets. And JR showed me a spreadsheet some time ago that is like, if Terminator were to be rewritten as a spreadsheet, this is what that spreadsheet would look like. And it's all kind of magical stuff. But if you're interested in city government business, definitely tune in on Friday, or definitely attend the city government meetings here locally. And something new, something fantastic that the city is actually doing, they are live streaming each and every one of the meetings onto the internet, right out there onto Facebook Live. So if you're a member of New Bern Live, you'll get it come straight to your phone. If you're following their page, you might see it every once in a great while, but definitely check it out, because I don't think there are too many other cities in the world, at least none that I know of at this size, that are putting that level of interaction out there. And the more people that get involved, the more active it becomes, the more available it becomes, the more real it becomes, and the closer we get to what we're talking about today with the merging of technology and human beings, the closer we get to that, the more likely we're going to have a platform in the very near future where your Facebook comments are going to get entered not only into public comment, but may actually help to shape policy in this tiny little city. And if we can do it right, we can do it as and make it a beacon, as a model for everyone else in the world, to show them that this is something we can do, because we're rapidly moving that direction. So check out the City of New Bern Facebook page. Check out New Bern Live. Absolutely, definitely. If you're not on that, you're wrong. You need to fix that. But definitely check that one out if you want to see the ins and outs and the happenings of things around the city. And if you want to be part of something that's brand new, because we got local businesses, we got local community leaders, we got local content creators, New Bern Live is your local media militia, or as Chris coined it yesterday, the local media mafia. Which, if you meet him in person, you'll totally understand that. And it works. It works. The local media mafia. I still like militia better, but local media mafia could work too as well. We'll put out a hit on somebody. But if you want to get involved in this conversation, if you want to see what your local media militia is doing with New Bern Live, you want to see how a city comes together and communicates in damn near real time, right? Check out the Facebook group, get involved in the conversation, and definitely check out the city's Facebook page, because if it works here, it can work anywhere. And now we can eliminate the whole get your butt up and walk over to the polls. We might actually be able to say, well, look, your mobile device here that has your fingerprint and your face print and your DNA and your tongue print and your PIN code and your dog's favorite name and your best friends and all of your closest friends, closest strangers on Facebook is now being used not only as a tool to be able to consume all that content, but to be able to act in it and to be able to interact with it and make it into something that we all want. So if you're interested and you want to see what I'm hoping will be the future, check out New Bern Live, because I want people to get involved in that conversation. Go comment on the city government meeting, which is tonight, by the way. It is, if you're interested in doing that one. So enough of the house cleaning stuff. It is now 9 minutes after the hour. It is 73 degrees here in the city of Bears. And this morning on the Charles Tendell Show, we're talking about technology. Duh. So right now, if you're watching this on your mobile device, or you're listening to this in your car, or you're going about your daily business, chances are you've picked up one or two electronic devices this morning that have some sort of connection to you, right? As a human being, they have some sort of monitoring to you. Maybe not. Could be wrong. But for me, you got the Apple Watch. If you've got an iPhone X and you held that thing up and it takes your picture of your face really quickly and makes that into a hash mark. You've got Touch ID on your other stuff. You've got fingerprint readers on everything else. All of this technology is basically, is a rehash of biometric technology, and it's been advancing for the last 20 years, give or take, and it's fantastic when it comes together, right? It's fantastic when it works, right? When it works well. But what happens when that technology fails, right? What happens when it doesn't work the way that it is? And this is beyond just not unlocking your phone and then you have to punch in your PIN code. What happens when a bad guy gets a hold of it, right? Now, that on one side, I want you to hold that in your brain on one side of it. But how much of this technology, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Matter of fact, I'll go there. With the bad guys, right? If a bad guy gets a hold of your technology and it's your mobile phone or it's anything like that, it's probably not a big deal, right? It's probably not a life-altering, life-ending event for you. You're probably not going to be worried about it. You might be like, oh, man, my phone is gone. That kind of sucks. I got to go and make an insurance claim, which we all know sucks. But nowadays, it's just another appliance. It's just another piece of equipment. But what happens when that technology, right, that we take for granted externally becomes internal, becomes connected to something critical for our very existence, like our heart, right? What if it's a blood pressure monitor, which, watches do that now? What if it's an insulin pump? What if it's a something that controls a critical item in your heart or inside the human body, right? And at what point do we come? At what point does augmenting ourselves with technology become scarier than it is? And I mean, I don't want to run anybody off into this dystopian future of what was it, Universal Soldier? Is that the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme? He was out there kicking, and the guy they were robots, but they were genetically enhanced, and they had all these little cybernetic implants in them, and their eyes and everything. And we're seeing that. We're seeing things like that now. We're seeing robotic eyes. We're seeing more prosthetic limbs. We're seeing robotic hearts. But that's not new, right? That's not new. The part of it that is new is the part that connects it to the internet, right? And once we connect it to the internet, a whole plethora of possibilities, a whole world of vulnerabilities takes place. Like, could you imagine? There was an article many, I think it was last year, and I can't remember whether it was John McCain, which, as I've heard, is if you're not paying attention to that, you should probably start doing so. There's some rumor going around, there's some scholars out there going around that John McCain may be on his way out. He's demonstrating some physical attributes for someone who is on the last few months, last few portions of his life. He's bringing people in, old friends in, to make sure he's communicating with them. He's giving them information. He's making sure he's got his I's dotted and his T's crossed. So I hope he gets better. Cancer sucks. If you're a cancer survivor out there, the treatment is often worse, or the cure is often worse than the disease itself. And if you know someone or you have anybody who's gone through cancer in any way, shape, or form, I feel for you. I mean, if you want to do something in that area, if you want to do this research, which is really interesting, I don't know how we've gotten to the point now where we spend so much money on cancer research and we haven't figured out how to beat this bastard, but it is the evolution of things, with all the stuff that we put into our bodies, all the chemicals we put into our bodies, the day-to-day life of stuff, we end up with stuff in there that just doesn't work right. But anyway, John McCain, I think, was the one who put out years ago. Was it John McCain or somebody else? I don't remember who it was. It was some major political figure who has a heart implant, has a pacemaker built into their chest. Now, that pacemaker is connected via either low energy Bluetooth, which is the new version of Bluetooth. Like, we all know the Bluetooth that, we all know that one guy who walked around with the Bluetooth headset in his ear all the time like it was a piece of jewelry. That guy. We're not talking about that level of Bluetooth. We're talking about Bluetooth that requires two devices to be pretty close to one another to be able to communicate, right? But all of these things are designed to bring the communication field much closer to the vest, right? Much closer into us. But there was an article not too long ago, big prominent political figure had gone into the doctor, and after reading a bunch of articles online from like TechCrunch and Gizmodo and all those other places, where he had learned that his particular model of pacemaker was susceptible to an external remote attack, right? To the bad guys being able to get in and do really, really crazy out there stuff. Like, could you imagine at that point? I mean, it's different if I hack your phone or I hack your Facebook page and, your identity, your avatar for the rest of the world is gone. But it's a whole nother animal when what I'm hacking When I'm hacking into, it's actually controlling your heart, right? It is now the matter of life and death. But the conversation came out where he was scared. He was worried that his pacemaker could get hit by hackers, and the hackers had the ability to speed it up, to slow it down, to turn it off, to do whatever they wanted. Sorry, not hackers, malicious hackers. I want to make sure everybody knows that, and I'll get into a little bit more of a rant after we see this interview here with this one. But the conversation comes, who protects that technology, and how far do we want to go with that technology? We always have these things where we've got technology controlling our critical infrastructure, right? We see that all the time. Technology controls our stoplights. It controls our water filtration. It controls our power grid. It controls all these different things. And that technology has had a huge conversation revolving around it for years about how we protect this. How do we protect SCADA systems, or how do we protect, I forget what they're actually called, the embedded control device technology. How do we protect those? And that's been a hardcore conversation. The medical world has always been a little bit behind. It's always been one of those industries where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we're worried about, the human body. It doesn't really necessarily intertwine with technology. Well, those days are dying. And now we have technology that reads our heart rate. It reads our location. It connects directly to our heart on more levels than you can imagine, not just the physical one. And we rely on it. We use it as an appliance. We don't think about the security behind that. We don't think about what the bad guys could actually be doing with this technology. We just use it, right? A lot of people just use it. And if you're a medical patient, the last thing you want to be thinking about, you got being alive, family, friends, paying for the medical bills. Inevitably, all of being alive equals up to insurance, whether that's going to be a real thing. You've got all this long list of stuff before you get down to, I've got this piece of technology in my body that's now connected to the internet, right? And as you guys know, I was out at RSA earlier this year, and it is the largest cybersecurity conference, one of the largest cybersecurity conferences in the world that happens every year out in San Francisco, California. And if you've never been to San Francisco, it is truly the Emerald City. You will truly feel like Dorothy following the yellow brick road and showing up into a city filled with technology. We see these things on TV where people are on these segways, right? Speaking of technology integrating with humans. And in San Francisco, that's normal. Uber and Lyft and all of these rideshare. If there's an app idea, it's born there. I watched the birth and the death of an idea in the week that I was out there. There were these scooters that you could just app and do all of that other stuff, but apparently there was a city ordinance that didn't like that. But the technology out there, the level of technology out there is even more of an example of how it's all come together. It's all being embedded. But while I was out there, I met a lot of great people. A lot of interesting conversations were had, but I ran into Leon Lerman. He is the co-founder and CEO of a company called Cynerio, Cynerio, Cynero, Cynerio. I think I'm pronouncing that one right. And their whole focus is around the security behind protecting those integrated medical devices. And when I say those things, you mean it might not be a pacemaker, right? You walk into a medical facility now, and if you're anything older than, 30, you remember all the wires and all the connections and all the things and all the paddles and all the what some high-tech hospitals right now would classify as archaic, right? And when you think of the medical technology, you think, they're always pretty cutting edge, except for when it's medical records. They're still trying to figure that nonsense out. But there's always something new and exciting going with it. Well, the technology has moved leaps and bounds. Right? It's always been this ability to have it interconnected, but no one has ever thought, well, I wouldn't say no one. Very few people think of the security, right? Because of that long list of stuff out there. And when I was having this conversation with Leon, it was all about how protection happens and how we change the mindset of people in terms of that protection. But again, the scary question is raised, what happens when that security becomes literally life or death? When it becomes the heart beating in someone's body, when it becomes the machine that's reading out their vitals, when it becomes the monitoring device that will later dictate how much medication they do or do not get, right? Imagine all of this, and then ask yourself, do you focus, or when you walk into a hospital, that piece of technology, do you even see it, right? Do you even see it? And if not, how far down your list is the actual security of it, or are you just making the assumption that it works there? So before I go too far, I want you guys to check out this interview I did with Leon Lerman from Cynerio. You can check out more about Cynerio at Cynerio, Cynerio.co. Check it out, and I'll be right back here on the Charles Tendell Show.
So Jennifer, who are you and what brought you to RSA?
Hi, I'm the co-founder of Hacker House. We are a professional services and training team.
Oh no, we transitioned to the right one. So I will figure this one out. Let me get this to the right spot for you guys, and then we will go from there, because I'm not even sure how that happened this morning. I could have sworn I had that one already fixed up, but it was the wrong one. So let me fix it. Let me fix it. Let me find the right one. You know, that's what happens early in the morning when you're doing production stuff and you're doing show stuff. You actually have to remember, or you have to make sure all of those things are there and put into the right spot. So let's turn that one off. Let's turn that one off. Let's make sure we've got the right one. Now we've got the right one. Check out this conversation with Leon Lerman, the CEO of Cynerio, here on the Charles Tendell Show, and I'll be right back. So Leon, you're new to the Charles Tendell Show. I don't think I've ever talked to you before, have I?
No, that's the first time.
Right on. Well, thank you for a minute of your time today. I really appreciate it.
Sure,
So,
thank you for inviting me.
yeah, so give me a little information about who you are, what you do, and how do you say your name, the company name?
Cynerio.
Cynerio. What does Cynerio do?
So Cy stands for cyber, as we're a cybersecurity company, and Nerio is actually the god of valor. Yeah, so that's how the name, we came up with the name, yeah.
Very nice. So unpack that a little bit. The god of valor. How was it just is it a Greek mythology kind of thing?
Yes, I think it's the Roman mythology actually.
Roman.
Yes.
Oh, so are you a big mythology buff, or the people that helped you name it?
We were just looking for a name, and we thought about one of the Roman gods that will represent what we're trying to do.
Nice.
And Cynerio definitely was a good fit.
Nice. So what do you do?
So we're actually doing cybersecurity for medical devices.
Okay.
It's becoming a more important problem as the time goes by, as hospitals are actually, in the last 2 years, were the most targeted industry by hackers, mainly due to their sensitive information, the EPHI, the Protected Healthcare Information, which costs quite a lot of money on the black market.
Or is worth quite a lot of money on the black market.
Worth quite a lot of money, yeah. yeah. As they can be used for identity theft, for medical fraud. And connected medical devices, things like MRI, CT scanners, IV pumps, insulin pumps, blood gas analyzers, are actually becoming the weakest link. Because they're getting a lot more connected, some to the internet, others to the internal hospital's network, and they're basically not built with security in mind. So many of them are still running things like Windows XP, and we even saw an older one a couple of weeks ago. We even saw Windows 3.11. That's the one with the big floppy disk.
Oh my goodness! And this was running a medical device of some sort?
Yes.
Please tell me this wasn't running anything critical, like it was somebody's collection machine for stamps or something. Nothing serious in the medical world.
So I'm afraid it was actually an imaging device that was connected directly with patients.
Now, so let's go there a little bit. Do you, with all the technology that you're experiencing in the medical world, right? When you run into those old platforms, old versions of Windows and things of that nature, is it because the developer found something that worked with 3.1 and it was like, oh, okay, this works, we're not going to update, or they just forgot about it, or they just had bad patch management? Why are they still holding on to some of this extremely old legacy equipment that I actually wouldn't think would still be connected to the internet at any point?
I think that's a great question, and I think the main reason for that is because mainly there's the device manufacturers. They have this process with the FDA, right? So because of many of these devices are interacting directly with patients, they're under the FDA regulation, and the FDA basically says that for every single software change you're making, you need to go through a certification process, right? Just like you have to go with medications, right? So, and the certification process is a multi-year process, multi-million-dollar process. So the device manufacturers just don't want to do that. So they continue to ship the devices the way they did before. It's
a red tape and a cost saving for them, I guess. They don't want to go through all the effort, so let's go out here and do this. But that leaves a lot of these devices vulnerable in ways that you probably, well, from your perspective, you would expect to see some of these vulnerabilities, but general consumers would never expect to think that their MRI or an imaging device would be that kind of insecure.
Absolutely, and the thing is that it was tolerable while these devices were disconnected, like like the standard devices that were standalone machines. But now with all this IoT revolution, as devices are becoming more and more connected to provide more data to the physicians, more real-time data to make medical decisions, to provide better patient care for patients, this is now becoming a problem. These devices were not meant to be connected. And now running these very old operating systems, very old communication protocols, it's definitely becoming a security problem, and it's something we address.
Nice. No, in terms of addressing that problem, right? Because I typically ask my guests, what's the problem you're trying to address? But I don't think we need to ask that question at this point. But addressing that problem, what are you doing? What are some of the steps you're taking to help companies and manufacturers actually fix this?
So we're actually providing cybersecurity solutions specifically for healthcare providers. We're actually providing a solution that sits on their network, as you cannot really install anything on the devices, and you just have too many vendors in a hospital. So we're basically sitting on a network, getting a copy of all the network communications that gets in and out of this medical device ecosystem, so we can really understand where are the devices, who are they talking with, and which medical processes, medical workflows are they taking part in. So we are really modeling their behavior and really getting a very good understanding of what the devices are supposed to be doing on the network. And then using our technology, we can detect anomalies once they're doing something they're not supposed to do, and then we can stop this potentially malicious communication to ensure patient safety and protect the patient's privacy.
Nice. Now, in terms of a response, you're stopping what could potentially be something malicious, right? Is that dangerous in a medical world? Like, you don't want to, somebody's rogue medication machine happens to be operating abnormally, you don't want to stop that one from operating at that point.
Absolutely, and that's why the first step we're doing is really the detection phase, so we're able to alert the relevant security team once we think something goes wrong. And then we have a process which we call policy-based remediation, in which we're saying that you can apply a blocking policy for some of the devices where you will feel more comfortable. For example, if you really have a critical device that is now providing patient care to a specific patient, then you probably would not want to block it. Maybe you just want to get an alert for it. While on other portions of the network where you have devices that are, let's say, you might feel more comfortable in blocking some sort of communication, we can give you the capability to do so.
Nice. So it's flexible based on the end user, or based on the use case scenario.
Right.
So there's been a lot of talk about this adaptive authentication mechanism, right? About learning the behavior of an item or a person,
right,
and then kind of giving them more security based on abnormal behavior. Is that kind of where you're headed with that?
So it's part of it, I think. We really believe that in order to provide a very accurate understanding and modeling of the behavior, you really need to understand the business context, right? And in the medical world, in the healthcare world, the business context are the medical processes in which these devices are taking part in, right? So for me to detect an anomaly, I really want to understand what these devices are supposed to be doing, to whom they are supposed to be talking to on the network, and again, what are the medical processes that they should be taking part in. So I think this is really key to be very accurate, because, for example, you can have an MRI machine that now performs the scan and it sends an image to a stored server.
Predictable behavior.
Predictable behavior, right? But I'll be able to identify that it tries now to send an image of a patient that was never in the hospital. And this is really the part of understanding the medical and clinical context to be able to detect relevant anomalies in an accurate way.
Now, in terms of let's use that image, for example, right? I'm assuming these images aren't sent like, Charles just had an MRI done and this Charles's MRI is going somewhere else. Are you unpacking any of the packets as these are moving around on the network to be able to determine this is a patient that was here or this is a patient that wasn't here, kind of thing? How would you detect it in that scenario, I guess is my question.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we're actually doing deep packet inspection, because we're getting a copy. We're sitting connecting to core switches on the network, getting a copy of all the communication, and then we're deeply analyzing the communication to understand what's going on, understand what are the actions that are currently happening.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you're getting a copy, so your span port, something's
Right.
going off, being dumped onto your machine, and your machine can make a determination based on that type of analytics. But so it's not kind of a man-in-the-middle sort of thing going on. It's
No.
not where it's routed through it. So there shouldn't be any type of slowdown from the packet analysis, then.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, a lot of these devices are critical and connected directly with patients, so we definitely don't want to get in the middle of that. So we're just sitting on the side in a passive way, getting a copy of the communication, and doing all this on our analysis passively. So
Now, it's kind of after the fact, then. It's not in real time, then, at that point, right?
it's near real time. Of course, it will never be by the second, but it will be
As quick as possible.
As quick as possible, of course.
That makes sense. I mean, I only wonder because in that environment, like you said, the speed is kind of the essence, and anytime you're doing packet analysis on anything, it always takes time, and that's been like the biggest hurdle that most organizations have been trying to get over is how do we do deep packet inspection without slowing down or causing performance issues there. But you're doing it kind of as a secondary. You're not in the flow, you're next to it at the same time.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that actually help with that as well is that we're using machine learning to be able to automatically model and map the behaviors, what also allows us to get quicker detection, and so we can alert the security team, as I mentioned, near real time.
Nice. Now, in terms of how your software, I'm assuming software or an appliance learns, how long does it take to actually understand what is a positive traffic, what is a malicious traffic? How does it detect that? Is there a whitelist? Does it just learn from the infrastructure's current behavior patterns? How does it work?
So this is interesting. The way we're doing the learning, we're actually sending some anonymized metadata into the cloud, and we're actually doing the learning in the cloud.
Oh, nice.
And the reason this is interesting is because we were able to identify that for some specific departments in the hospital, for example, the radiology department, their behavior is repeatable across hospitals. So once you're able to model and learn the behavior of a specific radiology department in one hospital, it can the knowledge that we gather can use us to model the radiology department in a different hospital very quickly. So we don't have to learn every hospital from scratch, right? The knowledge.
So you have a baseline. You can't actually assume that each hospital is doing the same thing the same way, though. So you have a baseline based on.
Right, where there's a baseline, and the way we're modeling this medical workflows and this medical communications, we're doing that in a level where it is more or less repeatable. So some things are different, but the base of the operation and the way the device communicate is repeatable.
Nice. Now, in terms of how you deploy this in an infrastructure, how you go in, do you show up, do you talk to the doctors, you talk to the IT team and say, here, let me put this additional box on your network and this is what we're going to do with it?
So typically we're talking to the IT team, and I always start with a question. I'm just asking them, do you know how many devices do you have on your network? And the typical answer is
yes, because I'm IT. I always know everything. No.
The answer, yeah, perhaps a couple of hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. So typically what we start with is, let us tell you that. Let us deploy our solution on the network, and we'll take a week of learning time, and we'll be able to really show you, answer this question to you, provide you visibility to your environment, to this huge blind spot you currently have with all these connected devices. So this is how we typically start. So, and after we really identify the different devices and show them the picture of it, we can start doing some sort of a risk analysis, right, and showing them what is the risk that these devices pose to the hospital. And only then we can go through to the anomaly detection part, right, starting really.
It's about education, right?
It's all about education. So, and it's a new market, so lots of the hospitals really they need help understanding these environments, and it's something we can really definitely help them with.
Now, I've worked in a good number of hospitals over the course of my career, and it's always really hard working with the people who are the users that actually make policy. So like the doctors are the ones that you have to be very cautious about their workflow, about how they handle the technology and introducing things like that. I would imagine you got a little bit of resistance going into some of these hospitals when you said, we're going to add security to it. How did you get over that hurdle?
That's I think that this is always the problem with the challenge, let's say, with security, right? Because you wanna do security, but you also wanna maintain the usability and the user experience, which is really key. And I think this is one of the key reasons why we chose to do a passive solution that doesn't really get in the way, and you have all the flexibility to enforce any policy you want that is applicable with the hospital's needs. And I think another challenge an interesting challenge we have here is because we're focused on the connected devices, which is, let's say, not a typical IT problem, right? So typically in hospitals you have the clinical engineering teams which are responsible for these devices, and I believe that one of our missions is to also bridge this gap between the clinical engineering and the medical side, the physicians, and the security teams. And the way to bridge this gap, in our opinion, is really providing this visibility into what these devices are doing. Because once you have this visibility, once the IT has this visibility, and they can really understand the needs of the physicians and their unique workflows in which these devices are taking part in, they are empowered to make the right decisions that will also benefit more people and the physicians and the clinicians.
And I mean, I like that approach. It's going to make saving lives easier. It's going to make it more functional for you. By the way, it's not going to be intrusive. We're going to be kind of out of the way for you anyway. So the objections get kind of mitigated early on in that one. So last question, and then I'll let you go here. Sure. Where did this idea come from? Like, did you experience something in a hospital? Did a family member have a hospital incident, and you were like, we've got to fix this problem?
So actually, we're two founders. So my co-founder's dad was a deputy CISO in a very big hospital in the States, a big health system actually, in Michigan. And it was getting a lot of the information, obviously, from home. In terms of that, the problem really becomes a pain. And from my experience, I actually worked in various security companies, and I was working with hospitals, mainly solving their IT traditional problems, antivirus, computers, etc. And I was always hearing the question, especially in the last 2 years, do you have something for the medical devices? Do you have something for our clinical ecosystem? And I didn't. And I was like, this problem needs to be addressed. And this is how the idea, we started to work on this idea, and we came up with Cynerio.
Isn't it amazing when you go to solve a problem that was just something internal for you, it was just a tool that you actually needed that turns into a product that you can actually then go and bless the rest of the world with. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
I couldn't agree more.
Right. Now, Leo, I want to give you an opportunity. How can people find out more about you and what you got going on? How can they learn more about your software?
So we're currently at RSA, so we have a booth at RSA at the Early Stage Expo. You can go into our website, cynerio.co. We're currently available to pilot our technology with hospitals that are facing this problem. And just go on our website. We have a form there, and we'll be happy to reach out and help.
Excellent. Well, Leon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You have a good one.
Thank you.
So there you go. Good conversation with Leon Lerman. If you want to check out more about Cynerio, head over to cynerio.com, cynerio.co, not .com, sorry, .co. So cynerio.co and get involved in that one. Because let's face it, quite honestly, if you're living in the world right now, right? If you're living in the world right now, you've likely interacted with one of those pieces of technology. You've interacted with an MRI or an imaging machine, and even if you don't remember or realize you've actually interacted with these machines, you have, right? If you've gone to a doctor or anything like that, there's a plethora of technology right as you walk through the door in any mediocre hospital. When you walk through the door, there's so much data that is collected on you, so much information that is put out there that is found about you just from the few seconds that when you get in there. And not to mention the stuff that you put on when you fill out forms or when they finally plug something into you. And soon we're going to get to a point where they're going to be able to do like nanotechnology where they can inject it in you and it'll just run around your body and fix the things that are problematic. Then we're really going to need people like Cynerio. We're really going to need people who are going to be doing the security portion of it. I mean, the concept or the idea, the purpose of it all, right, is to ensure that our technology integrates with us as human beings accurately, and we don't have this gaping hole that we open not only for everything else. I mean, if you've ever had an invasive surgery, which knock on wood, thank God I have not, and well, I mean I have when I was small, when I was a wee child, and I've had a couple other ones, some army related injuries, but other than that, I've thank God again, knock on wood, I have not had them have to cut me open to do something. But how much other stuff gets introduced at that point, you know? There was this episode, or this whole series, if you guys are watching All About, or Better Call Saul, right? If you've watched that at all, his brother suffers from this this hypersensitivity to electromagnetic, environments. And man, he'd be dead if he were in the studio right now. I mean, lights and cameras and computers and phones everywhere, but the electricity, or the sensitivity to that, well, I don't know if that's a real thing. I mean, I've heard about it more than one occasion, but it brings up a whole new visual of what's coming into your body, right? We're dealing with ones and zeros. We're dealing with technology. We're dealing with wireless technology. We're dealing with Bluetooth. We're dealing with all of these low energy radio waves that didn't exist before, right? They did, but they were natural forming and everything else. And now we hold radiation to our face, call it a cell phone. But all of these things are in minute levels that are all the other things, right, that people think about when they're dealing with their technology, right? All these other things. They walk past X-ray machines. How much radiation am I getting? They go to the airport and they get scanned with one of those machines. Can you see through my clothes? Yes, pro tip, they can. But for the record, they're not looking for that, right? They're looking for bombs. They're looking for things that are going to cause issues. But we think about everything else, right? Everything else other than, is somebody going to be able to break into my MRI or into my doctor's office and get all of my information? Now, that's a whole nother avenue behind it all, because the how much more of our information is already online, right? How much more of our information is already available to this? How much more of our information could possibly be out there? You know, how much more can we do to put out there? I mean, Equifax got hit. Everybody and their brother's information is online in one form or another. We add our medical information on there. Do we even need us anymore, right? Do we have physical, digital representations of ourselves, our digital life, as it were, that is out there and is at the mercy of anybody who wants to be malicious about it. The mercy of anybody who wants to be malicious about it. So, if you are like me and you think a little bit more about the security of those devices, check out companies like Cynerio. Check out people who are innovating in this space, trying to figure out what they want to do. So Cynerio, again, CYNERIO.co. Check them out. You can follow them on Twitter as well, at Cynerio, CYNERIO. Now, imagine a world, right? Imagine the world that you live in, right? Again, like I said before we'd had the interview, imagine the amount of technology that you interact with between the time you woke up, right? The time you woke up to now. And imagine what would happen if that technology were in the hands of someone else. You know, is that a scary scenario for you? Maybe not. Let's see what we got going on here in the comment sections. We've got, hey, JR, good to see you. Maria, nice to see you. Nancy, hello from Lubbock, Texas. Nice to see you guys down there in the comment section. If you guys want to get involved in this conversation, I don't have the phone lines open right now, but it would be a matter of a few buttons, and maybe I'll do that if I decide to take a break here in the next few minutes. I'll turn the phone lines on and get you guys in there. But if you're in the comment sections, if you are down below on Facebook and you are watching this either on New Bern Live or on the Charles Tendell Show Facebook page, or you're out there on the ether listening, if you're driving this morning, you're not trying to do comments. But if you got questions or you want to get something answered, check it out. Send the questions into the comment section. We are all about that. I'm going to butcher your name, Ayush. I apologize. Says, yes, Cynerio is kind of like an antivirus for medical technology. This is indeed a great concept. And if you got questions, do post them in the on the comment section down below. Shouts out to Chris, who's out there, Randy, who's out there, and again, JR. Thank you guys for being down in the comment section and being involved in this one. So you get up in the world that we are right now, and this is something that I've had a conversation with multiple people over the course of the industry. And if you've been listening to my show for any extended length of time, or if you head over to the CharlesTendellShow.com and click that past show button, you can catch the ones that I did with Sam Curry, where we talk about, the evolution of security, how it's come from one portion of the world, how technology has advanced from something we would have to go out and get, right? Because if you look back in the 70s, the computer prices back then, $3,000 gets you this, this nothing computer, a computer that would basically be worse than the first iPhone right now, right? But several $1,000s you would get it. It was an appliance that you had to go and get. It was a tool you had to go and get. It was specifically for something. You were crunching numbers. You were writing spreadsheets. You were doing gaming. You were doing something, right? Something you were working on with all of this. And you end up with this environment. You ended up with this box. That's all it was a tool. Right, that's all it was. Right, you ended up with this box that did whatever you wanted it to do, and you went to this box for that specific tool. Well, now that box is everywhere. Right, it has been shrunk down. It has been miniaturized. It's in our pockets. It's in our bodies. It's on our wrists. It's in our cars. It's in our planes. It's everywhere you can imagine. I mean, it's in the cameras that are used for the show. It's in the microphones. It's in everything. Right, the technology to be able to do this is so close to us right now that we've forgotten that it's there. Right, it's all been turned into basically an appliance. It's all been turned into something as simple as flipping a switch. Right, and as we've advanced with all of this, our mindset of how we use it and our mindset of our security behind how we use it hasn't changed. Right, it's flip on, it works. It does not work. Call the people that it matters to. The last thing on that list, again, especially in the medical world, is this giving accurate information? And I don't want to scare people, right? I don't want to scare people because, quite honestly, the connected home is a thing, right? The Internet of Everything is a thing. I don't want to scare you into not using your technology. So some realism with all of this is the chances of you being an individual and being targeted by this are slim to none, right? The chances of you being an individual of who's already the target of something and this happening to you is a little higher, right? But the layers of technology required to get from me, the bad actor, with an idea of taking over your medical device, there's so many different boundaries. There's so many different levels. There's so many different layers we have to unpack. We have to peel back to be able to get to that point. Now, that's not to say that if you happen to be in a hospital, or if you happen to be in an environment, or if you happen to be at a place that is in that bucket of people that just got hacked, you won't be one of them. And you should get a letter in the mail or something similar. You should get like a breach notice or something like that. And with GDPR or GDRP coming out in 3 days now, taking effect in 3 days, that's going to be a big spur. So you'll definitely get those notifications. But all of those things, there's a lot in between there. And in the grand scheme of things, with the exception of the devices, the medical devices that are attached to medication dispensing or attached to something critical like your heart, it's not likely somebody's going to do that. Now, if you've been paying attention, if you've been watching my show, either on Facebook over on the New Bern Live, the Charles Tendell Show Facebook page, or at the charlestendellshow.com, or over on YouTube at the Charles Tendell Show YouTube page, all of which you can find at the charlestendellshow.com, if you've been watching this for any sort of time, I've been trying to help you guys better understand what hacker looks like. So I'm going to take this chance to do so. Right? I got a few more minutes for this one. Hackers are the people who made this technology possible. And the reason that you are hearing about it in a sense where it's not somebody dumping your personal information onto the internet, and the reason why companies like Cynerio exist, is because hackers have seen a problem. They've seen a hole in the world. They've seen something missing, something good that is no longer there, and it is our obligation, our responsibility to put it there, especially if we have the ability, the forethought, and the wherewithal to do so, right? That's the idea. That's the whole concept behind most hackers. The exception to the rule is the malicious guys, the guys who don't care, the guys who just want to watch the world burn, the guys who are like, oh, this is there, I want to try this. Now, there are also the ones who do this accidentally. Right, because there are tools out there where you can go out and you can find susceptible devices where they're vulnerable to, like Leon was saying, if you find Windows 3.1 on the internet, you're going to be curious. If you find Windows NT on the internet, you're going to be curious. If you find Windows XP on the internet, you're going to be curious about it. You're going to want to toy with it. You're going to want to tinker with it. You're going to see what's on the other side of this machine, what is being controlled by this device. And you're going to stumble, you're going to play with, you're going to do that, and you may inadvertently cause something. But most hackers are very aware of the power's at our fingertips. Most of us. We're very, 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 very well, and we're very sensitive to it, right? We're very sensitive to it. No, we're not hacking your girlfriend. No, we're not hacking your best friend. No, we're not hacking into your bank account to make you millionaires. We really just want to solve the biggest puzzles in the world. Like this, seriously, like this is how we see the world. And you can't see it because unless you're watching it on Facebook, you can't see it. But this is a Rubik's Cube. Here, you can hear it. I'll make the sounds for it. You can hear it. We see the world as a giant Rubik's Cube, just a big puzzle to be solved. And problems like this are things that people don't think about, right? People do not think about the security of the appliances. Like if I told you flat out that in your home right now, if you've got an internet connected washing machine, dishwasher, or clothing washing machine, right? Clothing washing machine, I can actually remotely connect to that thing, depending on what brand it is. It is a possibility to remotely connect to that thing and spin it out of cycle and fix it so that the balances and the gyros in it, because all this new technology in it, disable. And then I can spin that thing around your laundry room. And if I really, 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 really want to get crazy, I can go Stuxnet on it and overspin your centrifuges. And then what happens, right? Oh, fun stuff, right? Imagine water everywhere. But that's the worst case scenario when it comes to your appliance. But that's not what we do. We find ways to prevent that from happening. We put the layers on top of it, and we talk to the manufacturers, or we get between you and the manufacturer to be able to prevent these things from happening to you. So the technology out there in the world, you are protected most of the time by people like Leon, by people like Sam, by people like Chris, by people like all the other previous people you've heard on this show about how your technology is secured, right? And if you want to get more about it, you know where you're going. But there's this misconception, this idea that all of us are the bad guys. And we're not. We're not. We're genuinely not. We're really not the bad guys. Because if we were, you'd know it, right? Your cars would go crazy. Your Apple Watches wouldn't work. Your phones wouldn't work. Planes would literally fall out of the sky if every hacker on the planet decided, you know what, I'm done trying to solve the world's problems. I'm going to just obliterate it, right? It's kind of this conversation that we're having right now around gun control, right? And you guys can't see me air quote it, but gun control is the same argument, just with bullets, right? It's just with that. But except in the security world, we're still doing that same aspect of let's blame the technology, let's go after the technology. We're blanket blaming all of the hackers for doing this, right? We're blanket blaming that. That's not the case, right? We use the technology, you use the technology, we just use it slightly differently. And the people who know it aren't the people making regulations. They're not making legislation. And I'm trying to avoid going off on a tangent about school safety and about the recent shooting that we had in Texas and all of that stuff. But you guys know me more enough to know that I try to avoid talking about those things anyway because I don't want to glorify these idiots. But in the world of technology, it's everywhere, right? You can be fed it however you want it. You can see it however you want it. The algorithms are all out there. And if you understand that technology a little better, if you ask yourself that question just once, what is the security under it? You might actually get a little further. You might sleep better at night. Well, correction, I take it back. Don't worry about that. You'll be up all night long wondering about how somebody else is going to hack you, but most people don't want to hack you. So go over to Cynerio, go over to the CharlesTendellShow.com, check out New Bern Live. If you are listening to the show on 103.9 FM, I love having you guys out there. If you want to get involved in this conversation, 1-844-9-HACKER will get you in and get you on the conversation. Or if you're out in the comment section out on Facebook, you can go and say hi there. Shouts out to Patrick, shouts out to Chris, and everybody else out there in the comment section. If you want to get involved, do post your comments out there. We're about out of time out here on the Charles Tendell Show, so I don't want to start another interview or another conversation and get that one going. But on the same concept of medical technology, again, think about the amount of stuff in your home. Think about the amount of stuff that a loved one has been connected to. If you've got kids, what they've had out there, the MRI machines, just the tools that are out there. And this is our medical industry, right? This is our medical industry. So there's people out there who are trying to protect you. It's not all bad. It's not all evil. It's not all crazy. And we're getting to a really, 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 really good place with that technology. And speaking of that, if you guys are checking this all out and you're out on New Bern Live, I think I want to understand, I want to explain a little more of that concept for you guys out there, because technology is taking us in a place that I really like. And if you guys are listening to this on 103.9, if you're in the city of New Bern, or if you're interested in the city government meeting, which is this evening from 6 to whatever time they end up doing that one, it's immediately after the Charles Tendell Show's 5 o'clock show. How fantastic is that? The New Bern Live hour and then the city business stuff going on. But if you're interested in that, the reason that's a big deal for me, at least, is now that the city does their own live streams. They connect it to the internet. They allow people to communicate with it. They're putting that data out there. They are connecting in on the technology with it. people are now able to interact, communicate, talk to, work with, and actually make public comments. Hopefully soon, I'm talking to you, City of New Bern. Hopefully soon, people will be able to make public comments, and those public comments get added into the meeting minutes, right? Could you imagine living in a world where in real time, every voice in the city matters? Every voice in the city matters, right? We get one opinion, thumbs up, thumbs down. Now, we're going to have to do some moderation. We're going to have to do some moderation to ensure the trolls don't take over it entirely, right? Because, those are all there, and the internet is a thing. But when you open that level of technology, it brings a whole new avenue of fun stuff out there. But the whole concept behind that is the technology we use, the medical devices, the scanning, and everything else. We've now got fingerprints. We've now got Face ID. We've now got voice print. How many of you out there actually have like your driver's license information stored on your phone? If you've put together a medical card, you've got your blood type, your phone number, everybody that you need there. Your mobile device is now an identifier of you. And with new blockchain technology, with new advancements in things, in fact, coming up here soon on the Charles Tendell Show, there's definitely some additional conversations about the evolution of that identification, right? And if you've missed a couple of them, you can over to the charlestendellshow.com and you can see them there, right? There's a couple of historical ones that we put together. And I'm going to try and spend some time to get to the comment section. I try to avoid looking at it most of the time because it sets me off. But if you go over to the Charles Tendell Show, you hear about the advancement of blockchain technology to be able to validate, transactions and processes. And we're working there, right? We're working to a point where hopefully one day the technology that we use to curate our lives becomes a token that we can use to do something, that we can use to represent us. We're already doing it, right? Especially if you use Apple Pay, or if you use any of the apps on your phone. If you use Uber or Lyft, they're already doing it. Like the concept isn't that far. Like we are right there on that edge. We are right there on that line where all we have to do is step over to where we allow and we get legislators and we get people and lawmakers and companies to agree that the technology is now at the point where we can use it to identify us as individuals. We can now say, yes, check this out. There's the face, there's the fingerprint, there's the voice ID, there's the ID verified. Yes, now, Mr. Person who's on Facebook doing whatever you want, you get a blue check mark and you can vote. Holy crap, the world would change. And the United States of America would finally get to a point where people can execute things. And we no longer have to worry about, do they have ID? We no longer have to worry about, can they get to the polls? We no longer have to spin all of that stuff up. So if you're interested in seeing the birth of that, if you're interested in seeing how that's going to grow, how we're going to start to use technology to be able to influence policy, check out New Bern Live. Check out the City of New Bern Facebook page. Always gets posted inside New Bern Live. Get involved in the comment section for the city government meetings. See where we're going next, because that's going to be something that we're going to see in cities around the world. Hopefully, we get more people doing it. There's some cool stuff, if you missed it, from yesterday that came out of the Asked and Answered show with Chris Orman. If you want to get in on any of the stuff out here on New Bern Live, Mondays, Chris Orman, Tendell, Tuesdays, Wednesday, New Bern Now, Thursdays, the Mofos or Morons, if you want to get on that, Fridays is City Talk. But if there was an interesting concept that came out of yesterday's show with Chip Hughes, running for sheriff out here, about a group, a South Carolina officer or law enforcement agency that's actually live streaming like Friday and Saturday night, like cops, right? They're doing it. They have somebody live in the car doing it, uncensored, completely there. That's next. Hopefully we can get there. And if I get New Bern PD to do that, that would be fantastic. But we're getting to the point where our technology can now represent us so accurately that we can actually use it to do something crazy like vote. So we're almost out of time here on the Charles Tendell Show. We've got some comments going. How can we reach you? You can leave me a comment for right now. I don't have the phone lines open. Huge thing to do when you want to take every single opinion into consideration. Yes, it is a huge deal when you want to take every opinion into consideration. Now, it's not necessarily about the amount of opinion. Quite honestly, it's about the curation of said opinion. It's about who is actually going to objectively look at something. And then when you give people access to that level, you kind of have to keep it in a particular category. Because if you don't, they go off on tangents, they go crazy, they spin off into their own little ecosystems, they go off into their little small micro echo chambers in your thing, and then it becomes unusable. But if you give them a specific topic, like if you give them a specific go, no go for lunch. Like, imagine a world where you've got like a city council meeting, or you've got like a press conference, or you've got the president of the United States standing behind something and is asking the world, we're going to be doing this. We're having a conversation on policy. Here's where we are. Option A is this. Here's the information on option A. Option B is this. Here's the information on option B. Operators are standing by. Click the button and figure out which one you want to do, and we'll take this as a general poll. And we hear these polls all the time, right? And it all really kind of comes down to who's behind it, who's behind the how you say, who's behind the keyboard, essentially, to make sure that everything's going where it's supposed to and how it's supposed to. Now, I've got to wrap this one up because we are almost out of time here on the Charles Tendell Show. We've only got a few seconds left, and I just realized that what I want isn't there, so we're going to do it a different way for the out for this one, and we'll enjoy it that one. So that's it here on the Charles Tendell Show. Don't forget, if you are locked in on 103.9 FM, if you are listening to New Bern Live, if you're listening to the sound of my voice in the city of New Bern, Monday, Asked and Answered. Tuesday, the Charles Tendell Show. Wednesday, New Bern Now and Beyond. Thursday is Morons Become a Mofo. And Friday, it's City Talk with Lee and Sabrina Bangle. I'll see you guys this evening, hopefully at the City Council meeting. If not, I'll see you out there online, and we'll keep the conversation going. If you got comments, head over to the CharlesTendellShow.com, guys. But that's it. I'm out of here, and I'll see you tomorrow.